What's up, everyone? Welcome to the video. We're here breaking down the Cookout Southern 500 at Darlington Raceway, one of my favorite races of the season. We have a night race, Labor Day weekend. Football's right around the corner. It's fantasy football draft weekend. There's just a lot to be excited about. So looking forward to this one, and it's the start of the NASCAR playoffs. So I'm not really sure what there is to complain about, but I'm sure somebody will find something. Although I do have some complaints about the first Darlington race of the year. I think we all remember that. I think we were all doing very well until like the very end. I believe Ryan Newman caused the caution. We lost Martin Truex Jr. We lost Ross Chastain. We lost Kyle Larson, basically the three best plays on the slate. All died at the end. So it was a story of riches to rags there at the end. It was very unfortunate, but hopefully that doesn't happen again. But anyway, if this happens to be your first time here, what's up? My name is Chris Pennell. I break down NASCAR DFS each and every single week on this channel. You'll find me live on Sunday afternoons, but since this is a later race, I'm thinking probably around 4 to 5 p.m. Eastern is when we're going to start the live stream. So hopefully I'll see you all there. It's the last one of the season, so come in, say hi, or tell me bye if you want to see. Get rid of my ugly face. I don't care either way, but I'd love to see you there. And if you do enjoy today's free content, or even if you don't, leave a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet done so. And if you have any questions, comments, concerns, leave them down below. And if I may, I would like to sell my soul here a bit, but I do have to mention the sponsors of the show, Prize Picks and Underdog, but they are offering some nice freebies this week for week 1 of the NFL season over on Prize Picks. You can get Dak Prescott at 0.5 passing yards. That's an easy money over there. And then over on Underdog, we got 2 things working for us. So for everybody, Patrick Mahomes is at 0.5 passing yards. But if you're a new user, on top of your deposit match bonus up to $100, which works over on Prize Picks as well, you get a special bonus pick'em prop over on Underdog as well in addition to that. So you get 2 freebies over there. So again, check them out. Link down below in the description or the pinned comment. And use promo code CPEN and tell them I sent you. And I love both sites. Super fun. And I cover NFL every single week during the season, so we can go over props over there too. All right, so moving on to the strategy portion here. I wouldn't say the strategy is too crazy, but I do think it's important to go over what kind of track Darlington is because it's a bit unique. It's kind of egg-shaped. It's a cross between a short track and an intermediate. It's 1.3 miles in length, so we're not quite at 1.5, but we're definitely not at 2.0. And we're not at 1 or even smaller than that. So it's kind of right in between there. But it's one of my personal favorite tracks. I just love the way this sets up. I love high tire wear tracks. The surface is definitely going to eat up these tires. So we're going to see fall off, which I think is always good to see. And if you're looking for similar tracks to Darlington, I realize not all of these are in the same size category. But it's just tires. It's just tracks that have tire wear. So we're looking at Auto Club. Obviously the Darlington races we've had in the next gen car. Also look at Homestead, which I think is probably the most comparable to it. And it might sound weird, but I think you can look at Dover too. That track eats up tires. I realize it's a different service. They have concrete, but it's 1 mile in length and it's also a steep oval. So I like to throw it in a little bit. Maybe that's weird. Maybe I shouldn't, but it's just something I do. And let's be honest, the best drivers at Dover tend to be really darn good at Darlington, like Kyle Larson, Martin Truex Jr., Denny Hamlin, all excel at Dover, and they're all pretty much the favorites here at Darlington this weekend. So I do think there is some overlap. And finally, moving on to the driver-by-driver breakdown here, I do have to mention a couple of things first. First off, if you guys want to join the Patreon, get access to all the extra content, you can do that completely free for a week. Link down below in the description or the pinned comment. Just a free trial if you want to come and check it out. And if you like it, you can stay. If not, tell me to kick rocks. I don't care either way. But you'll get access to all the projections that I use every single week. Ownership projections, optimizer, sim scores, my betting model, which doing pretty good so far this year. Is the first year I've introduced it and been dabbling into the NASCAR betting market in general, but we're up about 30 units so far this season, so I've certainly been pleased. Obviously they can go up or down, but so far not been too bad, just betting the value that I see on the model, and then articles and things like that. And my Discord, which I am not kidding, it's hopping 24/7. We're in there every day of the week talking whatever it may be, so always fun to be in there, and I'd highly recommend you joining. And also, I do cover football, which is starting very soon on Thursday. I cover showdowns, main slates, and everything. Set out the entire slate. So if you like what I do for NASCAR, you should like what I do for NFL as well. So if you want to come in, check it out. Like I said, link down below in the description or the pinned comment for that. All right, so let's get into it here. And I would tell you right now, based off of qualifying, we have a very interesting slate. We have several drivers that are really good starting up front. And we have a slew of drivers starting in the back that are also excellent. So it's going to be interesting this weekend to try to figure out which route we want to go, whether it be cash games or tournaments. So there's definitely going to be some pivots to be had, but my goodness, there is going to be some very chalky plays and lineups this weekend. But let's start top with the man, Denny Hamlin, 11K on DraftKings, 12.5 over on FanDuel. Getting a nice little discount on FanDuel compared to DraftKings since he's the most expensive driver over on DK. He's starting in second on the front row with his teammate Christopher Bell. Looks like Toyota does have some decent speed this week considering they're got the top 3 starting spots. And these odds are not up to date. These are before practice and qualifying. If I had to guess, Denny Hamlin's probably either going to be the co-favorite with Christopher Bell, or he's going to be second. So not like that was anything too crazy, considering he's already one of the favorites heading into the weekend. Now, I'm not saying I dislike Denny. I am just saying ownership-wise, it's probably going to be a little bit tougher to get to him this week, because if you look right below him, you have Martin Truex Jr. in 31st, Kyle Larson in 18th, William Byron in 23rd. Even then, you have Ross Chastain in 27th, Kyle Busch in 11th. I won't put them in the same category, but those three right below him, I mean, they're going to project extremely well. Nice built-in floors and very high ceilings, because I know track position's pretty big to dominate a race. I would not be surprised at all. Denny Hamlin comes out, leads a good chunk of this race, and is in contention for the win. I mean, that's certainly in the cards. But so those other three drivers can certainly make their way up there as well. And I mean, they should be able to gain spots every time they go down pit road and just race their way towards the front once stage 2 and stage 3 rolls around. And by that point, I mean, they're just loaded up on those place differential points with the potential to dominate. So there's certain ways we can go. It'll probably be tough to play Denny in cash games. I don't think I'd recommend that as of right now, considering you can play Christopher Bell, who I think is a very similar play at $9,400, and still jam in a couple of these big PD plays. But if you were trying to get different in tournaments, I would say Denny Hamlin's your guy, just because he won't get that kind of ownership, especially on FanDuel. He's only $12,500, and I think he could run top 3 for the majority of the day. Top 5 car in practice. And the data that we are looking at this week for recent track history is every race in the next gen car. That would include races at Darlington, Dover, Homestead, and Auto Club, just high tire wear tracks or steep ovals. All that have somewhat similarities there. And as you can see, Denny Hamlin has been pretty good at them, just not as much of a dominator as some of these other guys. But if we're looking at the 22 races at intermediate tracks in the next gen car, kind of hard to find a better driver than Denny Hamlin so far, averaging nearly 50 DraftKings points per race, the best average finish, 4 wins, and the most top 5s. And if we look at the dominator points, not the most, but he is certainly up there. So hard not to like Denny, but really only a tournament play only for me. Martin Truex Jr., $10,800. He's starting in 31st. I could tell you guys all the numbers for Truex, but I think we all know he's pretty good by now. He opened up as the favorite to win this race. Great at Darlington, was amazing here early in the year before he direct out near the very end. Pretty fast in practice, looks like a top 10, top 5 car. And let's be honest, Marty, he's always going to be in contention to win pretty much at any track we go this year. So I won't waste my time talking numbers. Martin Truex Jr., great play, and he is a cash game lock, even though he's starting in the back. And if you're wondering why he started in the back, it's just because he kind of got loose in his qualifying lap and had to power it down pretty much, and just ended up kind of rolling through that lap and going to be starting from the back, but I can't imagine he won't make his way back to the front. Kyle Larson, $10,500. He's starting in 18th, and hard not to like him after what we saw in practice. He looked extremely good in the long run, as you can see, second in the 15, first in the 20, and first in the 25. Darlington's an amazing track for him, even though he's kind of allergic to winning here. But at some point, it's going to happen. I wouldn't be too surprised if it happens this time around with how good the car looked. And I mean, just as well as he runs at Darlington, at some point he's going to grab a win. And probably should have won here earlier in the season until Ross Chastain took him out at the end, which was very unfortunate. I'd rather not remember that. But Levin Larson here, him and Truex are probably my top 2 plays in the 5-figure range. William Byron's not too far behind, though, starting in 23rd. I would love to play all 3, although not sure exactly how easy that's going to be. But he comes in at 10-2, 13-5 over on FanDuel, starting back in 23rd. Pretty fast car. Looks like he's going to be a top 5 guy. Speed-wise, no, again, he's not going to have that track position to work with, but at some point, I'm assuming he's going to get up there. He is the most recent winner here at Darlington. Now, did he have the best car? No, did benefit from a few guys wrecking out, and really the 3 best cars, Truex, Chastain, and Kyle Larson. But he's certainly going to be in play here, and if you don't play him in cash games over Larson or even over Truex, I understand it. They're all very similar plays to me. Kyle Busch, $10,000. He's starting at 11th. Hit the wall again in practice, which I think is a weekly thing at this point. But looking at practice, it seems like he's able to manage his tires well and looks pretty good in the long run, even though he didn't fire off too fast. 15th in the 1, 14th in the 5, but then 6th, and 4th. And speaking of guys that are good at managing their tires and excellent at tire wear tracks, Kyle Larson, pretty much at the top of the chart there. Kevin Harvick's really good as well. Ross Chastain seems to be pretty good at that too, looking at his green flag speed numbers at these track types. And then Denny Hamlin, Martin Truex. I mean, go figure, they're all up in the expensive range. Really, the top 7 drivers here, all really good at managing their tires. So go figure. I guess DraftKings caught onto that. But Busch, I think he's a fine tournament pivot, but he certainly won't project as well as the other guys. Just got to get weird in tournaments sometimes. Dropping down to the 9K range, we have Kevin Harvick at $9,800. He's starting in 7th. Probably going to be a pass here, even though I like Kevin Harvick at Darlington. This has always been a good track for him. And like I said, very good at managing tires. The problem is practice doesn't look too impressive. 19th, 20th, 19th, 16th, 14th. I feel like he can probably run very similar to where he's starting, But he is jammed in between a bunch of place differential plays, and I just don't see Kevin Harvick dominating. So at nearly $10,000, I just don't think I can click on him. Ross Chastain at $9,600 early in the week. He was looking like my favorite play of the weekend, just based off of all the numbers I was looking at similar tracks, how he's ran well at Darlington, his green flag speed numbers. And then he just puts up an absolute clunker in practice and qualifying, barely made the top 30. Practice sucked as well, 23rd, 29th, 24th. Got better in the long run, was better than Denny in the 25 lap, and was better than Tyler Reddick, and not too far off of guys like Ryan Blaney, a little bit better than Chris Buescher. So I'm hoping it's like the first Darlington race where the longer the run went, Ross Chastain was stupid fast. Not really sure though, definitely in a hole here starting deep in the pack. I did unfortunately place a bet on him to win at plus I think 1,200. It then went down to 900, so I felt pretty good about it, but I'm assuming once the odds open back up that it's not going to be looking too pretty. Probably going to see a 2, maybe even a 3 by that name, so not sure really how I feel about that. But if it's anything close, I'll probably just cash that out. But I'm hoping it's like the first race where if it's a long run, Chastain gets fast and he can compete for a top 15, top 10. That's not bad for DFS purposes, but I would certainly be a little bit leery here because it does not look like the Trackhouse cars have a ton of speed this week. Christopher Bell, $9,400. He's starting on the pole. He's fast in practice. He has Ty Gibbs pit crew now, so he's got the first pit stall paired with Ty Gibbs pit crew. That's going to bode well for being able to stay up front or maintain position on pit road, which is always a good thing. And I would not be surprised if he just leads the large majority of stage 1. I would say Denny Hamlin's the main threat there. Tyler Reddick's always a bit of a wild card. So it's either going to be him or Denny Hamlin. Could be both. They could split it. Wouldn't be too surprised about that. But Bell's definitely in a really good spot to pick up a ton of diameter points. And this is not a short track, but we have nearly 400 laps. So lots of laps to be led. And if Bell can just lock in a ton of diameter points in stage 1, even if he doesn't win the race or even if he doesn't finish top 5 and stays within the top 10, he's going to have a nice little floor baked in with those dom points. So I do like Christopher Bell, and I think he is cash game playable. Tyler Reddick, $9,300. He's starting in third. I would definitely prefer Bell if I had to pick between these two because Reddick's always a bit of a wild card. I do prefer him at these kind of tracks, though, where you're right around the wall, but he can always be a big wild card. I feel like at some point he'll probably hit the wall and get a flat tire like he always does. But should have a decent car. I would imagine he runs top 8 the majority of the day, but it just really comes down to if he dominates or not. And I would say he's unlikely to dominate with Christopher Bell and Denny Hamlin right in front of him, but you can't completely take him out of the player pool. Joey Logano, $9,000. He's starting in 6. He is dirt cheap on FanDuel, so if I'm going to play him, it's probably going to be on FanDuel just for the, hoping for like a top 8 finish, but not super fast in practice, 26th, 18th, 17th. And Joey always seems to be one of those guys that just out-qualifies where he's actually going to run. So I don't see myself getting to too much Joey Logano. If I had to pick between Joey or Reddick, I am probably taking Reddick there. Dropping down to the 8K range, we have NASCAR's new best driver, apparently, Chris Buescher, $8,900. He's starting in 8th, and I got to give him a shout out from last week. Cashed me a 21 ticket over at Daytona, so I do appreciate that, Chris. Looking at practice, looks like he kind of qualified right around where you expect him to finish. 13th in the short run, 15th, but then when we get deep in here, 9th, 6th, 5th, and 3rd. So I feel like he's a guy that can probably run around 6th to 10th all day, which is not bad. He's at nearly $9,000 though, so it doesn't make it feel too pretty. He's probably not going to project too well, but I don't think he should be completely thrown out for tournaments because it looks like the RFK cars have some decent speed this week considering Brad Keselowski starting in the top 5. So they'll probably hang around the top 10 all day, so you can't ignore that. I mean, especially if they still some fast laps here and there, they are certainly tournament viable. Ryan Blaney's really cheap. This is not a good track for him. $8,600 though. He is free on FanDuel at $7,800. I think he had to have interest there. And he's got a pretty fast car. 16th in the 1 lap, 10th in the 5, but after that, 2nd, 3rd, 2nd, 1st. So I'm not sure exactly how I feel about it considering Blaney, this is not his best track by any means, but at this price point, I think you definitely have to take some stabs. So really, from Christopher Bell to Ryan Blaney, they all feel like the same play, although I think Bell is on a different pedestal because he's certainly in a better position to dominate. So I would say probably Reddick to Blaney here. They're all very similar plays and should be lower owned for tournaments. So I don't think that's a bad spot to be in if you want to get a little bit different. Because I imagine Chase Elliott, $8,400 starting in 13 is going to pick up some ownership because this is the cheapest I think I've ever seen him. I don't really think he's ever been cheap. Maybe a Bristol dirt race, maybe, but outside of that, I have never seen Chase Elliott this cheap. He wasn't good in practice, though, I will say. Him and Alex Bowman were just super slow. They must have gave William Byron and Kyle Larson everything they got this week, apparently. But 30th, 24th, 21st, 18th, I'm not seeing much out of Chase. Now, he did qualify 13th, and if he finishes top 10 at $8,400, I mean, that's going to look pretty good. I think he's just going to have more ownership, though. So if we want to get different, guys like Buescher, Keselowski are the way to go. And Chase, he's in play just because of the price, but I don't feel too good about what I saw on the track on Saturday. Bubba Wallace, $8,200. He's starting at 19th. I think Bubba's probably the better play over Elliott. I'm hoping Elliott's got some ownership just because of the name value. But Bubba ran well at Darlington earlier in the season, had a lot of speed. 5th in the 1 lap, 6th in the 5, 11th in the 10. And if it's not a short track or a road course, I usually have a lot of interest in Bubba, and that's going to be one of those weeks. And he did punch his ticket to the playoffs. So definitely we have a lot of motivation here to run well. So I do like Bubba here in tournaments. Eric Jones starting in 20th. We know this is pretty much his best track. He won here last year. Didn't really show us much in practice though. 17th and 33rd in the 5 lap. I feel like he's a bit overpriced for the equipment that he's in. I realize it's good track history, but it seems like DraftKings kind of bumped him up just because of that. So I don't really want to pay $8,000 for Eric Jones. Much rather play guys like Bubba Wallace, even Chase Elliott, and Ryan Blaney. We have Daniel Suarez and Alex Bowman, who look like just about the same exact play here. Both qualified in the 20s, and looking at practice, they have honestly like identical numbers. I feel like they could probably gain a few spots. I think I'd prefer Bowman just because he starts a little bit further back, and if you're looking at similar tracks, the next gen car, Bowman's not been too bad finish wise, and Daniel Suarez hasn't been a slouch either. So I would say probably similar exposure here with a slightly into Bowman just because we get the extra few spots. Michael McDowell, $7,400. Going to be really tough to click on his name starting in 9th. I feel like everyone's crossing him off in the first round for the playoffs, which I totally get. I mean, someone's got to get crossed off. 2nd in the 1 lap though, 4th in the 5 lap. Fired off pretty quick, but didn't get any data outside of that. So hard to tell what his car is going to perform after a long run, which is really the only important thing here at Darlington. So my assumption is that he fades back. I probably won't be able to play him starting in 9th unless I'm playing 150 max and you get a sprinkle, but that's probably about it. I feel more comfortable with Ty Gibbs, $7,200. So I realized he didn't make the playoffs, but I believe he finished 16th or 13th here early in the spring. He's either started one of those positions and finished one of those positions. I just have it backwards maybe. But I feel like he could probably finish the top 15 at $7,200. I mean, I just think that's a bit too cheap. He should probably be, I would say probably where Eric Jones is. I realize we don't have the track history that he does, but it just seems a little bit too cheap for a JGR car. So I'll definitely have some shares of Ty Gibbs. Ricky Stenhouse finished in the top, I believe 10, top 15 here earlier in the season, but looks like he's got a decently fast car even though he didn't qualify too well. 3rd, 5th, 10th, 13th in practice. Would have been nice to get like some 20, 25 lap runs, see how much he falls off, but I think at $7,000, we don't have a ton of PD plays back here, so Ricky's certainly in play. Austin Dillon starting us off in the 6K range. I usually love him at these tire wear tracks. Like if you're looking at his numbers in the next gen car at tire wear tracks, we have average of 35 DraftKings points per race, average finish of 15.8. Running position of 20th, 2 top 5s, 4 top 10s, like some overall pretty good numbers. Even with Ricky too, I don't know if you can see it on the screen, but it's 8 race sample size and he's finished in the top 15 7 out of 8 times at the similar tracks that we're looking at in the next gen car. So I mean, I think Ricky definitely looks pretty good. Austin Dillon, I wish he showed more speed in practice because he looked awful. 35th, 31st, 28th, 25th. Hopefully he gets better as the run progresses when tires start to fall off. So I would say Stenhouse and Dillon are pretty similar plays, but I do have a slight preference to Ricky because at least showed speed in practice. Eric Almirola starting in 10th. Don't think I can do that. Chase Briscoe starting in 12th. He's also starting a bit high for me. I kind of hate him at these intermediate tracks, but practice wasn't as bad for him. So if I was forced to pick one of these guys, I would say Briscoe, but it doesn't feel that good. AJ Allmendinger starting in 16th, just slower in practice than where he qualified, more than likely falls back. Corley Joy qualified a bit high for me, and not like we're getting him at 5K. He's $6,200, so it don't feel too comfortable with that. Austin Cindric at $6,100. He's starting in 14th. I want to call practice fake news with him being in the second group, but he was so fast. And I was looking at the practice times, and yeah, there's some guys that are faster, but there's also guys in Group 1 that were pretty good too. So I'm not really sure how much we should stagger the groups. I would say he probably had a bit of an advantage, and I certainly don't think he's going to be the best car on the track. But at $6,100, if he can stay in the top 20, it's viable. It's just that we don't have many options down here, because do you want to play Austin Cindric or you want to play Ryan Newman? Like, no thank you. Want to play Justin Haley? Maybe. Actually, Haley might be the worst play, but it's not too pretty down here. So Cindric, I don't think we can completely cross off, even though it doesn't feel good. Ryan Preece, 34th. Happy he's alive after last week's hit, but if you look at his face, it's looking pretty rough. He's got 2 black eyes, his lips are busted up, not looking too pretty down there. But in 34th, if he's just not completely awful and he can contend for a top 25, he is playable, and he's below 6K, so we will throw Preece in the player pool. Carson Hocevar's, $5,700, qualified way too high for me. Shout out to him for a good qualifying session, but I just can't play him in 15th, and practice was much worse than that. Ryan Newman, no thank you. Looks like the slowest car in the field. Justin Haley, $5,500. If you're looking for a cheap play, he was pretty much top 20 in everything in practice, so I think at $5,500, if you need a punt, which you probably are if you're going to load up on some expensive guys, he works. Harrison Burton starting in 32nd. I would say it's a pretty similar play, but looked even a little bit faster than Haley in practice. So you can throw Burton in the player pool. Todd Gillen looks like he's going to finish pretty close to where he starts there. And sucked last week that he had the oil issue because that didn't happen. He's probably getting a ton of PD spots. Yaley, pass. Dylan, no thank you. And BJ McLeod, never. With that being said, guys, that's all I got for you this week. So I hope you did enjoy. And even if you didn't, consider leaving a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet done so. Again, if you want to check out all the extra content, links down below in the description or the pinned comment for that. We got football coming very soon. Going to drop a video Sunday morning. If you want to check that out, I would appreciate it. Hopefully, I'll see you on the live stream tomorrow. Last one of the season, unfortunately. Hope to see you all there. But if not, thanks for tuning in this year. I'll be still dropping the videos, just not live streams. But I wish you all the best of luck, and I'll see you all next time.